Minister of the Government's Office and Chairman of the National Leading Committee for Rural Development and Poverty Eradication, Bounheuang Duangphachanh, told the ongoing National Assembly session recently that the main cause of poverty in the 4 provinces were related to poor or non-existent road access.
บ่มีทางเข้าถึงเที่ยวได้ตลอดปีประชาชนมีรายรับต่ำและบ่มีน้ำสะอาดสมใส
Minister of the Government Office and Chairman of the National Leading Committee for Rural Development and Poverty Eradication, Bounheuang Duangphachanh, was clarifying poverty issues to National Assembly members at the ongoing National Assembly session recently that, although the poverty rate in Laos has declined in recent years, the number of poor villages in 4 provinces remain as high as over 50% of their total villages. The main causes of poverty in the 4 provinces were related to poor or non-existent road access, a lack of clean water, and limited income generating opportunities.
บ้านทุกอย่างยังเหลือ 27% ของบ้านทั้งหมดขาดไม้สู่ส้นซกปี 2014-15 ครอบครัวทุกอย่างให้ลดลงยังเหลือ 9.4
The 4 provinces included Phongsaly, Oudomxay, Huaphan and Xekong provinces, with the rate of poor villages representing over 50% of their total villages. In Phongsaly province, the number of poor villages represented 60% of its total villages, with no accessible all-year-round roads, making up 51.4% of communities and poor family rates of 44.1%. Meanwhile, the rate of poor villages in Oudomxay province covered 54.5% of its total villages, and the rate of its poor families represented 49.6%. The rate of poor villages in Huaphan province represented 58.2%, with no accessible all-year-round roads, making up to 48%, and a poor family rate of 41.2%. In the meantime, the rate of poor villages in Xekong province represented 58.1% of its total villages. Over the past 5 years, the government has tried to prioritize its budget towards rural development and poverty reduction, focusing on priority areas where the majority of poor people live. In December 2011, the government defined 167 priority areas in its 5-year plan to allocate permanent land plots and provide jobs for local people to improve their livelihoods. Of the total of 167 priority areas, 3 are directly operated by the government. Over the 1,500 projects with a total value of 1,870 billion kip were slated for the 167 priority areas. However, only 404 projects with a value of 110 billion kip have been operated in 88 priority areas over the past 3 years due to a lack of funding. The government is committed to channel its budget towards the rest of the priority areas despite the government struggling to overcome financial difficulties since last year following the country's revenue shortfall. Next fiscal year, the government will allocate 3,300 billion kip, equal to 11% of its state investment projects. Some of this funding will be spent on new projects, including those related to poverty reduction. Over the past 3 years, the number of poor families has declined by 4.1%. As of 2013, the number of poor families has decreased to 116,808, equal to around 10% of the total nationwide.
และบ้านทุกอย่างให้ลดลงยังเหลือ 11% แม้นมีความเป็นไปได้เพียงใด
Despite its budgetary tensions, the government projected that the number of poor families will decline to 9.4% of the country's total families by 2015.